Apocalypse Gaming.
So, we've covered running and we've covered sprinting. Now I want to show you the other main, or one of the other main actions that you're probably going to be declaring a lot in the game. And that's called slamming. Slamming is where you take one player, who's normally your guard, because they can travel the furthest in slam, and slam an opposing player, where you're trying to mush them into paste and kill them. Or just put them in the sin bin. But I prefer mush them into paste and kill them. So, like any other action in the game, you take an action point, spend it, and tell the opposing coach what you're planning on doing. So, what I'm planning on doing here is taking this guard and slamming that guard. Normally you wouldn't try and slam an opposing guard, you would slam a jack and you would slam a striker, because they're easier to put down. But just for the basic mechanics, we're just going to show you this one first. So you declare what you're doing, and for here I'm going to do a slam maneuver. If you're a guard, you can run your full movement complement and slam. If you're a jack, you can move one hex and slam, and strikers can never slam. So movement of 5 means I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and within distance, so I'm going to be slamming that player there. So a slam test is a 3 dice X test. 3 dice X, and it's a 3 dice strength test. So that means I get 3 dice for slamming, because that's the type of test it is. But I'm a guard, I'll also get an extra dice, and because I had momentum behind me and I didn't start in an adjacent hex to this guard, I get an extra dice again. So in total, I get to roll 5 dice. So the human coach now has an option that the orcs has declared his charge and managed to get up to him. He has the option, being a guard, to either slam back or dodge, as would a jack, but a striker could only dodge because they aren't built or trained to do the slam back. They don't know how to, they're trained to try and evade. But he can either dodge or slam back. So in this case he's going to man up and he's going to try and slam back. So again, it's a 3 dice strength X test. So he gets 3 dice and rolls against his strength. He's a guard also, so he gets an extra dice as well. He didn't have any momentum, so he's left with 4 dice and he's left. So the orc player needs to roll his 5 dice. His strength is 3, so 3 is his successes. And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 successes, but there's a 6, so there's a reroll. 5 successes. The human player has his 4 dice with a strength of 4, so he needs to achieve 5 successes to break even on 4s. And he's got 0 successes. Because the slam was successful for the orc player, he gets to drive the player that he was hitting directly from his facing backwards. So he can choose to put him here, or the hex is either side. So he can go to, from this position, drive him here, here, or here. Whichever one the orcs player chooses, because he's the one that won the slam. He also doubled the amount of successes that the human player had, so he knocks him onto his back side in any one of those 3 squares. Had he rolled 1 success, because there was no successes for the guard, it still counts as a doubling. So no successes for one player, 1 success is enough for the other person to give them a doubling. And he can choose to stay in that square or follow up into the vacated square that the guard came out of, and he would face into the hex that he was driven into. So I've driven him back to here and he's in that facing. So due to the guard being knocked to the ground, he now has to perform an armour check. And an armour check is a 3 dice test again. It's a 3 dice armour test. The armour of a guard is 4. It's the same throughout the system, doesn't matter what race you are, the armour's a 4 as set down in the Dreadball rules. It's the same for strikers, they're all 5s, and jacks are all 4. So it's a 3 dice test, however it was a guard. Because it was a guard, he gets an extra dice, meaning he gets to roll 4 dice, and he's got to beat the difference in successes that was in the previous test. So I had 5 successes, the guard had no successes. So 5 take away 0 means he needs 5 successes. Had he scored 2 successes and I had scored my 5, it'd be 3 he was hunting down. So he's got his 4 dice and he needs 5 successes. And as we said, it's a 4, so that's a fail, that's a fail, and that's a fail. But we have a 6, so he gets to re-roll. 2 successes. That's going to affect where he's going to go in the rest of the game, or for the next few turns. 2 successes, hunting down 5. So 5 take away 2 is 3, which means he's going to go to position 3 in the human sin bin. So we take him and we put him here. What would happen now is when it comes back to the human's rush, he would move down 1 square. And each subsequent human rush, he would move down 1 square until he eventually makes it to the subs bench again. And from the subs bench, he can be brought back into play. But for just now, he's been relegated to position 3. Had there been only 1 success, he'd have been beaten by 4 and he'd be dead. Goodbye, good night, RIP human guard. So hopefully that's making sense. That's as really complex as the rules get, but we'll go through some of the other manoeuvres for you. And that wasn't complex, was it? So we'll play out the same scenario what happened, but this time against a human striker, because he can only dodge. So guard's going to come up and slam, and you declare this is a slam manoeuvre. You don't say I'm going to run and slam, you don't run him up and then say I'm going to slam. It's a slam manoeuvre. The guard can move 5, so I'm going to slam that human striker, spend my action point, and 1, 2, 3, 4. He could have went another one, but he only needs to go 4 to slam him. So, as we know, it's a 3 dice strength X test. He had momentum behind him, and he's a guard, so it's 5 dice. The human striker is electing to dodge. It's a 3 dice speed X test, so he's got to roll against his speed to dodge. He's a human striker, so he gets a +1 for being a striker. So it's 5 dice versus 4. Successes for the jack is on a 3 up because for the guard is on a 3 up because he is an orc, strength 3. Successes for the striker is 4 ups because he's a human and he's a striker, so it's 4s. It's easy for the humans, they're all 4s apart from the armour, which is 5. So let's roll and see what happens this time. 5 dice, 3 ups, and we have 1 success, 2 success, 3 successes, 4, and one of them's a 6. 5 successes. And we have 1 success, 2 success, 3 successes, 3 successes. So it's 5 versus 3. 5 versus 3 means I didn't double him, all I did was drive him back. So again, it's these 3 hexes that the orc player gets to choose from because he won the test. And we'll drive him back to here. And then you could choose to stay where you are or follow up, depending on what you want to do. Taking the striker back, assuming they'd both rolled equal successes, then they would just turn to face, and that's all that would happen. So they'd be growling at each other whilst the striker's trying to dodge and miss the fists. Bringing them back again, assuming that the orc guard had a really poor roll and maybe only got 1 success, and the human striker doubled or more the result, he would then get a free action. So if the orc tried to slam the human and the human won, the human gets 1 free hex movement. So the human could go there, 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 or there. Any of those hexes. And he'd probably want to come forward, it would probably move forward. The slamming player would remain facing the hex that the opposing player just vacated, and you choose your facing that you're looking for, because remember, facing is important in the game. It's going to affect if you can catch the ball, it's going to affect where you're going to sprint. So human player chooses his facing because he was successful.
Apocalypse Gaming.